Hi, I'm George Peary. I'm the mayor of the city of Timmins. Randy Reid in his 33rd year of emergency management in Ontario, and he is an avid Toronto Blue Jays fan. Good for Randy.
Hello, I'm Randy Reid, Deputy Chief, Emergency Management Ontario, and I'm here to talk about municipalities as hosts for emergencies and capacity building. I would first like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we are on the lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous peoples, and I would like to acknowledge their contributions that they have and are continuing to make to our society. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you today to provide updates on EMO's preparations for potential First Nation evacuations regarding the flood and wildfire season. I want to be clear that we aren't here to get firm commitments. We are here to engage, especially those of you who aren't considered Northern Ontario municipalities, and explain how you can help and benefit from doing so. Key things to consider are that we are casting a wide net as we are in the planning stages. When there is a time of need, traditional hosts may in fact be facing difficult situations themselves, particularly COVID-19. We don't want to repeat a situation as we did before when we had to reach out to provinces to host First Nation communities outside of Ontario. And we also would like to show that there are benefits to you as potential hosts, including enhancement of your own emergency preparedness. For we never know when emergencies can happen to ourselves at municipal level, including the town of Red Lake in 2020, which had to evacuate itself due to wildfires. And this was in fact one of the first evacuations of a municipality that the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre had to support in terms of coordination in recent memory. We'd like to give special thanks to all of those traditional hosts, as well as those hosts that stepped up to provide support and hosting services to First Nations during COVID-19. Thank you. We're here today to provide outreach to municipalities and to seek your support in terms of considering becoming a host for evacuations. Although we do have some traditional hosts that are able to continue to provide hosting services, the need often exceeds capacity. So we need to continue to do capacity building. And we are committed to working with you on a strategic basis to plan for the floods and the wildfires that necessitate First Nation evacuations. We really do need your help. If you can, please do. Emergency management responsibilities for on-reserve First Nation communities can be broken down into the following. First Nations are responsible for developing community emergency management plans that include conducting an assessment of hazards and vulnerabilities faced by the community and ensuring that a plan is maintained, exercised, and modified annually. The federal government also has responsibility of the health, safety, and wellness of First Nation communities on reserve. Indigenous Services Canada ensures that First Nation communities have access to emergency assistance services by entering into collaborative agreements with provincial governments and providing funding to First Nation provinces and third parties to cover eligible costs related to emergencies. Emergency Management Ontario, under the Ministry of Solicitor General, is responsible for responding to any emergency that requires coordination, provincial emergency management. The Emergency Management Services Funding Agreement with Indigenous Services Canada is carried out by the provincial government in combination with the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre. Regular coordination during an emergency in a First Nation community. Should an emergency require an evacuation, the host municipality provides temporary accommodation, supports and services, and is reimbursed to the federal government via a hosting agreement with Indigenous Services Canada, not the province. Although some of you are already familiar with this, we would like to provide a brief overview of Ontario's far north. Ontario's far north covers 42% of Ontario's landmass and stretches from Manitoba in the west to James Bay in Quebec in the east. It's the home for 24,000 people, and 90% of those are First Nations. There are 31 First Nation communities, 2 municipalities, Pickle Lake and Moosonee, and 1 community with the Local Services Board, Moose Factory. The majority of the communities are fly-in communities with either no road access or seasonal road access during the winter. During the remote location, these communities face an increased vulnerability due to their remote location. There is an increased dependence on outside sources of assistance, and evacuations therefore become complex. The main triggers for evacuation, greater than 100 people, have historically been as a result of flooding or wildfires. In particular, communities along the Hudson Bay and James Bay coast are faced with annual flooding due to ice breakup in the spring. In Ontario's far north and beyond, wildfires become a threat if they encroach upon a community or if thick smoke results in a decline of air quality. This slide highlights recent First Nation emergencies, some of which required provincial and federal assistance, and others required community evacuation. As referred to previously, we want to thank all of those communities and municipalities that were able to support First Nations in emergencies. As part of the Communities Helping Communities, the community benefits by assisting those in need of shelter in circumstances beyond their control. Administratively, ISC adds 10% administrative costs to the overall funding. There may also be some economic benefits, including from local business sales, restaurants, and hotels, among others. To become a host, there are some requirements to consider. The host community signs a contract with Indigenous Services Canada. This encompasses a funding agreement where ISC covers all of the costs associated with hosting evacuees and adds 10% administrative fee to the overall total. Current requirement, as the agreement enables the transfer of funds. Another key item is the Joint Emergency Management Steering Committee's document, otherwise referred to as GEMS, which provides service-level evacuation standards, a document that outlines roles and responsibilities of all participating agencies, authorities, including host communities, and the proceeding for cost reimbursement. GEMS covers a number of details, including details on facilities for people to stay and ensuring a host community is able to provide culturally appropriate food, health, and other services. EMO can facilitate introductions with ISC for information about serving as a host community and hosting agreements. EMO can also facilitate sessions where past host municipalities and First Nation communities can share their experience, and we can also coordinate with host communities to provide opportunities to observe a community evacuation. For municipalities that may be unable to host but still want to help, other opportunities to provide support include Provincial Emergency Operations Center staffing during its evacuation in terms of surge capacity, as per a memo that was shared with CEOs on support to the PEOC. EMO's ongoing efforts to support municipalities include Operation Remote Immunity, whereby EMO is supporting the vaccination efforts for 31 Northern Ontario remote First Nation communities. We are continuing to advocate for enhanced supports. We provided 5 concrete actions proposed to the federal government, including the removal of the indemnification clauses for new and existing hosts. Also, we proposed a process to expedite reimbursement to hosts for all financial costs and some additional human health resources. EMO also conducts an annual flooding and wildfire symposium, which provides for shared experiences and lessons learned, particularly in the COVID-19 context. Presentation materials and additional information are available via this link. We also have comprehensive updates for the Joint Emergency Management Steering Committee GEMS service level evacuation standards. a consultative process for all partners, federal, provincial, municipal, and non-governmental organizations and First Nation stakeholders, and that document has just recently been published. If you are interested in hosting or have any questions or suggestions, please contact me at randy.r.reid@ontario.ca. Thank you.